How to invest your first $1,000. If you're new to investing, you might think that $1,000 or less isn't really enough to get started investing with, but you'd be wrong. In this video, we'll use Vanguard ETFs to create a 3-fund portfolio that will allow you to create a diversified range of investments with only $1,000. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I've missed you. If it's your first time here, my name is Jay, and on this channel I give you the tools, the tactics, and the tips that you need to get the most out of your money. So if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. I put out a new video every week. Don't want you to miss them. So as I mentioned in the introduction, in this video I'm going to show you how to invest your first $1,000 using Vanguard ETFs. Now specifically, we're going to be looking at index ETFs. So what is an ETF, and why are we investing in that over an index mutual fund? Well, an ETF stands for an exchange-traded fund. And one of the reasons I prefer it to a traditional mutual fund is because an ETF trades like a normal stock. That means at any point during the trading day, you can buy and sell an ETF at the price it's at that specific moment in time. With a mutual fund, you can place your order to buy or sell shares of the fund at any point in the day, but your order doesn't actually close until the ending of the trading day. So no matter what, you get that price at the end of the trading day. There's also no minimum investment amount for an ETF. With ETFs, the only minimum is the share price. But now, with brokerages like Robinhood letting you buy fractional shares, even that is no longer a barrier of entry. So while both an index ETF and an index mutual fund will be fine investments, and you're more than welcome to choose the index funds if that's what you prefer, my personal preference is with the ETFs. Now the next question you might have is, Jay, why Vanguard ETFs? What's so special about Vanguard? Vanguard as a company has always made it their mission to put investors first. Their entire history of a company has been dedicated towards lowering the cost of investing for everyday investors like you and me. Whether you're looking at index funds, traditional, more actively managed mutual funds, ETFs, or whatever other products Vanguard has, I'm willing to bet that they have some of the lowest fees on the market. I've been investing in Vanguard ETFs in my portfolio for about as long as I've been investing. So they're what I know the best, I trust them, I like them, and that's why I'm using them as my example in this video. So let's get into the meat of this. How can we take our first $1,000 we want to invest, create a 3-fund portfolio using just Vanguard ETFs, and come away with a complete diversified portfolio? How is that even going to work? And the key to it all is indexing. Indexing, or investing in index funds or index ETFs, as we're going to be doing in our case, allows you to take a small amount of money and buy a whole large amount of investments with it. You see, instead of going out and having to buy individual shares of Apple and Ford and GE and whatever other companies you want to invest in, I can go out and buy one share of an index ETF and get exposure to every stock in the S&P 500 or more. And once again, it's important to note, every individual investor will have their own specific risk tolerance and their own targeted asset allocation. So while anyone can take these 3 Vanguard index ETFs and create a portfolio out of them, the percentage of your $1,000 that I would invest in each one, or you would invest in each specific one, is going to be different between each person. And if you don't know how to figure out your specific risk tolerance, or don't know what your asset allocation should be, I did a video on that not long ago, which you can find linked up here. So when choosing index funds or index ETFs to invest our first $1,000 in, we want to look for as broad of an index as possible in order to get the most diversification we can for our money. So most people, when thinking to look for an index fund or an index ETF, will automatically jump to something like the S&P 500 index. Now the Vanguard ETF that tracks the S&P 500 index is the ticker symbol VOO. And if you buy one share of VOO, you get exposure to the top 500 companies in the United States. And really, that's a great investment. But I can do you one better. The ticker symbol VTI is the Vanguard ETF. That's the total stock market index. Now what that does is it exposes you to the entire United States stock market. That means you're not only getting the really large top 500 companies like you do in the S&P 500 index, you're also getting the mid-cap companies, small-cap companies, and even micro-cap companies. So you're getting the whole spectrum from largest to smallest companies on the United States stock market. So what's the benefit of that, you ask? Why would I want to do that? Isn't the S&P 500 just good enough? Well, yes and no. Lately, there's been a lot of news about Tesla. Now, there's rumors going around that Tesla may be about to join the S&P 500 index. And investors are getting excited because when it's announced that Tesla is joining the S&P 500, if it happens, that means all these index funds that track the S&P 500 will have to go and buy shares of Tesla to correctly track the index. Now that means if you invest in something like VOO, you're not exposed to shares of Tesla right now, which means you've missed out on their 1,200% increase in share price or whatever it's been over the past few months. Now, if you had been investing in VTI, Tesla is included in that fund. So even though it hasn't been added to the S&P 500 as one of the 500 largest stocks in the US, because VTI tracks the whole spectrum of US companies, you have exposure to Tesla and whatever the next exciting growth stock that's going to come up and make headlines for its meteoric rise in share price too. So you're getting exposure to all those kind of companies, and you're also getting everything that's in the S&P 500 along with it. So for us smaller investors, buying one share of VTI gets its exposure to over 1,000 stocks. And you really can't beat that level of diversification for the money. So we can invest in the Vanguard ETF VTI and use that as our exposure to the US stock market and whatever percentage of our asset allocation we want to divert to US stocks. But what if we want to invest in international stocks? Now, growth in the stock market, there's money to be made outside of the US as well. Now again, you run into the same kind of scenario. You can invest in something like the Vanguard ETF, which is the ticker symbol VGK, which tracks the total European stock market index. But again, the rest of the world doesn't only include Europe. So for that reason, I like to invest in the ticker symbol VXUS. And that's the Vanguard Index ETF that tracks the total world stock market, excluding the United States. Now remember, we're already getting our exposure to United States stocks with VTI. So we don't want to double up on that by having US stocks included in our international stock fund. So VXUS will give us exposure to the European markets, the Asian markets, the Australian markets, and even the South American markets and African markets. So just like VTI, we're getting an insane amount of diversification for a small amount of money. So now we've invested in VTI and VXUS and covered basically the entire world's worth of stocks, but very few of us want to be invested 100% in stocks. So how do we get exposure to bonds in our 3-fund portfolio? Well, simply enough, there's a Vanguard ETF that goes by the ticker symbol BND, which is the total bond market index. Now, investing in BND works much the same way as VTI and VXUS, except with bonds instead of stocks. So you're getting an entire range of bonds of different maturity lengths and all that under one fund. So with just those 3 funds, you can create a complete and diversified portfolio that you can just continue adding to for the rest of your investing life. It's really that simple. Now, to invest your first $1,000, hypothetically, you could invest $500 in VTI for the US stock market, $300 in VXUS to get your exposure to the world stock market, and then $200 in BND to get your exposure to bonds. Boom, you just invested your first $1,000. Now, as you get your next $200 or $500 or $1,000, you can keep investing it in those 3 funds and just invest to match your chosen asset allocation between the 3 funds. And that's really all you have to do. Now I know picking an individual stocks seems like I'm a lot more fun, and it's sure gonna get a lot more clicks on YouTube, but we're not about the clicks here. We're about giving you the good advice. So if you got value out of this video and you think that was good information, hit the like button down below, make it turn blue. It shows YouTube that this video should be seen by other people. It'll push it out to other people so they can find it. They can learn how to invest their first $1,000. Also, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. And leave me a comment down below. What do you think of the 3-fund portfolio? Is it right for you? If not, let me know. I'm always curious to see how different people invest. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Aw, my shirt is on the fucking couch. I don't care. I'm not redoing what I've done so far, so... Or shoot, God damn it. Do I need to? Whatever. That's who I am. I'm the kind of guy that leaves a shirt on the couch as he's recording a YouTube video. Please don't unsubscribe because I left a shirt on my couch.